I went off the pill. Generally, I tend to think it's a little bit annoying when people start a YouTube video with 100 caveats and things that they just have to say up front. But in this case, I actually do have to say a few things up front. This is such a complex topic, so it's really important that I call out a few things before I even dive into this video. Number one, this is just my story. All I'm doing here is telling a story of something that happened to me, and I understand it's not the case that a majority of people, or even that many people, will be in a similar situation. It's just my unique story. Number two, and this one's very important, I am not anti-birth control pills. I'm not anti any form of birth control. I am not anti-Western medicine. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I do not think we need to bring the whole medical system down. No. I myself went to Johns Hopkins University. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I have tons of friends who are doctors. I love my doctors. So this has nothing to do with being against doctors or being against Western medicine or medications. And I am all for women having control of their fertility. And I also do recognize the birth control pill's importance when it comes to the feminist movement and its connection to women's rights. And I think the pill is a great thing overall. Number three, my goal in making this video is not in any way to scare people out there into running and going off the pill. I recognize that the pill is a highly effective form of birth control. I also know that there are a variety of conditions out there where the birth control pill is the only way to keep symptoms under control. And in some cases, the pill can actually decrease certain types of cancers. So if people are at risk, I understand there are reasons why the pill might be a good idea for you. So do not use this video, or any YouTube video for that matter, as a reason to go run and swap medications or stop taking something. And number four, my main goal for making this video is just to encourage any young people out there with periods to become their own biggest health advocate when it comes to taking charge of their personal body. I really just want to encourage you to do your own research, talk to your doctors, ask pointed questions, listen to podcasts, read books, and just learn as much as you can. So on to the story. I made this post on my Instagram recently, and it was really your comments and your stories that you sent back to me that encouraged me to make this full video. I'm not saying this is the case for most people who are on the pill, but just of the people who follow me, which is a small portion of the population, and then of the people that saw that one individual post I made, which is an even smaller set of the population, there were hundreds of comments of similar type stories. So let me start by sharing my unique relationship with the birth control pill. On the one hand, I am so grateful for the pill. First of all, I want to acknowledge that it's a privilege to even have had access to the pill as a form of oral contraception. I'm also grateful that it prevented me from getting pregnant, which was my single biggest fear as a teenager. Even though I didn't get on the pill to control acne or to tame down super painful periods, it did do all of that for me. So my general teenage acne was made better by being on the pill. It also did make my periods incredibly light and very painless. And for many, dare I say most, people who end up taking birth control pills as a form of oral contraception find that it's not only incredibly effective at preventing pregnancy, but that it doesn't also come with random side effects. But that was not the case for me. So at 17, when I went to my doctor and I asked about the pill, it sort of just felt to me like a rite of passage. I remember almost all of my friends who were sexually active were going on the pill at the time. It seemed like the single most effective way to prevent pregnancy. And when I asked about potential side effects of the pill, what I was told is, well, it could clear up your skin, it could make your periods less painful. And of course, just like all drugs, there was, a pamphlet that comes with a packet of pills that tells you all of the potential side effects, but based on my family history and my unique body, I was told that I wasn't at risk for any of that. So here I am, handed this miracle pill, as it appears, that is just going to prevent pregnancy and then fix everything else in my body. True, I didn't ask, but I was also never really given any information about what this could possibly mean for me in the future. Am I decreasing my chances of being fertile after I go off this thing? How long is it safe to be on this? I was basically just told, it is okay to be on this pill for however long you want until you want to get pregnant. And then the moment you go off, you can get pregnant the next day. That's kind of how it was presented to me. And once again, the other things in the pamphlet didn't seem to be risky to me because I was told that I wasn't really at risk. So the pill did its job job in preventing pregnancy. I was also told by multiple doctors that it was okay for me to just skip right over that final sugar pill week in my pack and just start a new pack every month. So I didn't even bleed every month. I just skipped right over my bleed and started a new pack, and multiple doctors told me that was okay and that you don't need to bleed and it's fine. Okay, I still don't know the answer on if that's the case or not, but I did that every single month. I did experience about 3 to 4 times on the pill the aura migraine. I believe the aura manifests differently for everyone who sees it, but for me, it was almost like when I would wake up, I would see in my peripheral vision these wiggly lines. Kind of like if you're on a hot desert highway and you can see the wiggly lines coming from the gravel. It was like that, but I would see it in my peripheral, and I remember anytime after I experienced this aura, I was hit with a migraine that lasted for about an hour, and I would have to go into a dark room, put a cold compress on my face, cut out all sounds and all light. As I've learned, for those who suffer migraines with aura, taking combination oral contraceptive pills can put you at a higher risk for stroke. And despite having these headaches, I was never ripped off of the pill or told that this could be a major problem for me. It was actually my Instagram followers, believe it or not, that told me this could be a major problem, which obviously you don't want to listen to your Instagram followers for health advice, but I received DMs from multiple medical doctors that followed me telling me that this was a problem, and it just wasn't really something that any of my in-person doctors told me. But anyway, this story isn't about my head because, knock on wood, my head is okay. Instead, fast forward about 8 years into my time using the pill, and I'm starting to experience abdominal pain, specifically on the right side, right beneath the rib cage, and I go to get an ultrasound at a gastro, and I'm told that it is my gallbladder. Now, I don't need to get into the risk factors of gallbladder disease in this video, but I will just tell you that I do not fit with most of them. But even still, it was recommended that I get a cholecystectomy, so in 2017, I had my gallbladder removed. I made an entire video about this gallbladder removal journey. It's my surgery story. I'll link it for you up here so you can watch that video, but don't navigate away from this. Watch it after. After that, I decided to open up the pamphlet on my pill box and actually check out what were these side effects that I was told I'm not at risk for. And boom, there it was. May cause gallbladder disease in rare instances. Now, what I said in the YouTube video is true, and it really hits home for me. It's that you never think you are going to be a rare instance until you are. And that's really scary. Fast forward to today, I've now had 2 separate doctors confirm for me that my gallbladder issue was very likely caused by the pill. Of course, there's really no way to test 100% causation, but 2 separate doctors believe it was the cause. And in fact, the exact pill that I was on at the time of the surgery or just before the surgery did also get a ton of lawsuits from people who experienced a lot of issues, including gallbladder issues. I did not file a lawsuit, but a lot of people on the same pill did. I don't feel the need to call out the specific pill that I'm talking about or any of the specific pills I was on. I was on multiple in my life because I don't think this is an issue with just one brand or one pill. As I've learned, almost every form of combination oral contraception lists gallbladder disease or gallbladder issues as a potential risk. That light is a little bit aggressive. Let me turn it off. So after getting this surgery and after discovering what I discovered on the pamphlet, I asked my doctor, so should I go off the pill now? I mean, I clearly experienced one of the rare side effects. Should I get off it? And I don't remember verbatim what was said, but essentially, to distill it down to colloquial terms, I was basically told it's not necessary to go off the pill. You pretty much already experienced one of the worst potential side effects, so now that can't happen again, so there's no reason to go off. Doesn't sound right. I don't know, that just doesn't sit well with me. I already experienced a big problem, so now the logic is I can't experience that again. There's not really much worse I could go from here, so you might as well just stay on it. Now we can fast forward to the good stuff because the recent years have been the more enlightening parts of this story. So in 2020, I discovered Elisa Vitti. I heard her on a podcast all about hormonal health, and I read her book called In the Flow. Her book is not really all about the pill, although it does touch a little bit on the pill and some of the potential side effects and her recommendations for transitioning off it. Her book is mostly about cycle syncing and getting in tune with your hormones and your body's natural rhythm and really using your hormones hormones to your advantage when it comes to things like energy and health. I found the book fascinating, and that led me over to another book by Dr. Jolene Brighten called Beyond the Pill. Now, this is the book that is really chock full of information about the pill, and specifically about post-birth control syndrome, PBCS.
It's really important to understand that the way that hormonal birth control works to stop ovulation is at the brain level. What happens is you take the pill, it's a high enough dose of hormones that it tells the brain, do not signal to the ovaries. We do not need follicle stimulating hormone. We do not need luteinizing hormone. So it works by disrupting that brain ovarian communication. Now, that's a good thing if you don't want to have a baby and you don't want to ovulate. However, it's important to understand that there can be some hiccups as you come off of it in reestablishing brain ovarian communication.
This book inspired me to go off the pill and to never look back. First thing you should know is that I am not trying to get pregnant right now. I'm one of those people who just decided that I want to be off the pill for a set amount of time anyway before I even start trying. So my goal in going off the pill is not to just start getting pregnant right away, but it was to really just reset my hormones and clear this out of my body way before I even try. So in September 2020, that was when I made this decision and I went off the pill. And if you're curious how I did it, I basically just let myself bleed during the sugar week at the end of the pack. And then after that bleed, I just never started a new pack. The book advises you to transition off that way if possible, instead of just stopping in the middle of a pack. So how has it been going since I've been off the pill? The first month was pretty great. My body didn't really notice that the hormones were missing, I suppose, and everything seemed good. I didn't break out in the first month. Actually, after 39 days of being off, I started my first period of being off. So my period came back pretty quickly, or so I thought, and I was really excited that I was getting back on my natural cycle. But then things kind of went haywire after that first 39-day cycle. So back to the PBCS, post-birth control syndrome. Dr. Jolene Brighten taught me about this, and it's basically a descriptive term for what people report their experiences are after they come off a hormonal birth control pill.
So with post-birth control syndrome, it's really a collection of signs and symptoms that arise coming off of birth control. It can come on right away, or it can be an average of 6 months later. This is not a permanent state of being. Sometimes like post-birth control syndrome feels like puberty all over again, where you're like, I'm having mood swings. I'm having, sometimes you're having digestive issues because of prostaglandins, because of what's happening with estrogen and progesterone. You can have skin issues for sure. You can start losing your hair, missing periods, irregular periods. These hormones dock on receptors that are on every single system of your body. So they can show up in different places. So many of my patients got the same story from their doctor. This is just you. You've always been this way. No, you're misremembering. That's gaslighting. Like, why are we still doing that to women?
So after that first cycle where I got my period after 39 days, I was waiting for my second period, and that second period just never came. 2 months went by. I was now in like the 50 days after the first bleed, and my period is just gone right now. So period never came back. Skin started worsening for sure. I'm currently wearing a little bit of concealer, but my skin has been pretty good for the past few months, and it's starting to act up definitely right now. I also have been experiencing back knee, which is something that I never experienced when I was on the pill. And in both of these spots here, I am definitely experiencing hair loss. I never really had these gaps when I pull my hair back, but my hair is thinning. But perhaps the worst symptom that I'm experiencing is daily migraines. I have probably had a migraine every single day for the past month and a half. It's not always consistent. It's not like I have it every single day at all hours of the day, but it's kind of been on and off, coming and going, 5 days on, 3 days off, 4 days on, 2 days off for a month and a half. And it makes sense. From what I know, hormonal birth control turns off hormonal signals between your brain and your pituitary gland and your ovaries to prevent you from ovulating. So it's not too far-fetched to believe that once you stop taking that pill, it might take a little bit of time for your body to readjust. But here I am, after 11 years of taking this pill. I am 1 organ down, and I'm just feeling super lost and like I let my body down in some way. Whenever I think about my gallbladder, I honestly feel so sad. I feel like a part of me that was born with me and that's supposed to be on my body had to be taken out because of something that I did, something that I chose to do. And what makes me feel this way is that, I'm the patient who chose to take this pill. Nothing was forced on me. My doctor suggested a pill to me, and then I chose to say yes, and I chose to not look through all of the potential side effects and say no to it. But do we really expect teenagers to do copious amounts of research for themselves when a doctor recommends something to them and tells them that it's generally safe and that they're not at risk for most of the things? Maybe that is what you're gonna say, and maybe I should have done that myself. But at the time, it felt safe to just trust what was being told to me by a person in a white coat. So now that I'm off the pill, how am I preventing pregnancy? Because I told you I'm trying to not get pregnant right now. Right now, we are just using condoms. In the future, I would maybe consider a non-hormonal IUD or a diaphragm, something like that. But, I have to point out, I'm 28 now, I'm married, and I'm in a very different position now than I was when I was 17 and I was starting to become sexually active. And even though I'm specifically trying to not get pregnant right now, if I did get pregnant right now, it would be okay for my life. And when I was in high school or college, I did not want to risk that at all. So hormonal birth control was really the only truly effective method that I was told about at the time.
We don't have great studies. Let me just say that it is just mind-blowing to me that we pass out the pill like it's candy. I mean, I was prescribing it. I popped it for 10 years. I'm certainly not anti-birth control, but I do think we all need access to hormonal contraceptives for whatever reason. We're not following women who spend decades of their life on birth control. We actually have zero clue what happens when you start birth control at 14 and don't get off of it until you hit menopause. We don't know. And the second thing to understand is that why so many women in particular begin the pill and other forms of hormonal birth control is for symptom management. Now, this is where I feel like we do a really big disservice because we don't investigate why. We just put her on the pill and say, we'll deal with it if you want to have a baby. What year is it that we still reduce women to nothing but like baby machines? If you don't want to have a baby, you still have a right to know what's happening in your body. Now, why that second part's important to understand is that you may be put on the pill, you may be given the patch, the ring, any of these forms of birth control. And then when you come off, you find out that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, I had endometriosis, I actually had thyroid disease going on, that there is something else that was driving your symptoms. And so this is often where women look and they say that the birth control caused all of these things. And that's not always true.
Are there pills that are not combination, and are they less dangerous or have like fewer side effects?
So the progestin only pill, so it's also called the mini pill. We usually give it to women like postpartum because they're at high risk for a clot. What's interesting about that is it doesn't have some of those same side effects because it doesn't have estrogen. Same with the progestin-based IUDs. So like Skyla, Kyleena, Mirena. These, however, do have side effects when it comes to mood. We may never be at a place to say, these hormones caused my depression. These hormones caused my anxiety. These hormones caused my suicidal ideation. There's a correlation though. And we're seeing strong correlations, especially the younger you are, and the progestins don't fare better. And I want to say it's not because like the birth control caused a permanent change in your brain. We can't say anything like that. We do have some studies that hypothesize there is an increase in neurotoxin production while you're on the pill specifically. Even in the 1980s, hysteria was still a diagnosis, right? Women could still be called hysterical, which is totally bullshit. And so I think so often women's medicine is like, oh, you're anxious, oh, you're depressed. That's just like women, they're so fickle. And it cracks me up because doctors have no problem being like, your hormones are causing your mood symptoms. But when you use exogenous ones from birth control and you say, I think this is causing my symptoms, we have no studies to show that it actually causes any mood symptoms. So no, it can't be causing that. Well, it's not that big of a leap to be like, right. There's something going on.
So how do I wrap this all up? Unfortunately, there is no clean-cut ending here. I highly expect the comment section in this video to be a mixture of people telling me their horror stories on the pill as well, and then other people telling me that I am fear-mongering and that I'm doing a disservice to women everywhere by calling this out. And I want to say up front, before you're one of those people who writes the comment, that is not my aim. Just to reiterate, I'm not shaming anyone out there for taking the pill. I chose myself to take this pill for nearly half of my life. And even after I had my gallbladder removed and I discovered that the pill was maybe a factor in that, I still continued to take the pill for 3 more years after that surgery. So I'm not putting any blame on people, and I'm not putting any blame on the pill itself. I also believe unwanted pregnancies can be a huge issue, perhaps even a bigger deal than losing a gallbladder. So I understand the pill's importance.
So endometriosis is a big one. We certainly can use hormonal birth control for people who have disordered uterine bleeding. I've definitely had patients where I'm like, we have to stop your period. And I know you want to use all these other things. I know you want to do your diet. And yes. And we're going to also use a medication because I don't want you becoming so anemic. Endometrial hyperplasia. So where there's overgrowth or buildup. And if people have never heard of this, I have an article at drbrighton.com about what is endometrial hyperplasia. The other thing is that there are some women who choose to use hormonal birth control because they have a strong family history of ovarian cancer. Does it prevent ovarian cancer? No. Does it reduce your risk? Yes. Does it increase your risk of other cancers? Yes. And so you have to have an individualized discussion with your doctor. So there's certainly a time and a place to use hormonal birth control. And the one that's always universal is if there's no contraindications and that's what you want to do, that's absolutely an indication to use hormonal birth control.
I don't even know what the solution is here, but I know the books, both of the books I mentioned, talk about how doctors have tried discovering if birth control pills for men are maybe an option, because men don't have to ultimately carry children in them and they don't have as many complexities when it comes to hormones that women have. And maybe I'm trying to say we should get men on the pill. I don't know. Both books go into incredible detail about studies that were done where they did test out male birth control and the various reasons as to why they stopped them. But overall, I just think it's so backwards that the people in society that ultimately carry children and have the ovaries and the uterus are the ones that have to take a hormonal contraception to prevent pregnancy instead of the men being responsible for that. Tangent, but it's just a real big thought in my brain right now. I think what's really my main goal from this video is if there's even just one person out there who is starting to develop gallbladder symptoms and might be on the pill, potentially talking to your doctor about if getting off the pill could help that before you have to get surgery, that would make me feel good. I guess another thing would be if there's someone out there who had the same issue as me and who was on the pill and then had their gallbladder removed and has been feeling very defeated and feeling like maybe it was their diet or any other poor lifestyle choice they made. Perhaps they can talk to their doctor to see if maybe the pill was a potential cause of their gallbladder issue. Maybe that can give someone a bit more clarity and have them putting less pressure and stress on themselves, thinking that they did something wrong. I don't know. Those would be 2 good positive outcomes of this. But all I'm trying to encourage people to do is be their own biggest advocate when it comes to their own health. Learn about the potential side effects of anything you're going to take. Be prepared when you go to your doctor to ask questions and to understand the risks. Realize that you don't necessarily have to be an at-risk patient for some of these rare side effects to affect you. And then together with all of that information and with your doctor and with whatever else you have going on with your body, then make the decision about if hormonal birth control is the best route for you. Many of my followers also suggested the book called The Period Repair Manual, so I will pop that down below in the description box along with the other 2 books. So let me know what you think. I know this is an intense topic. I'm just skimming the surface and I'm just telling my story. I felt the need to share it, and I've already received loads of messages on Instagram from people who are kind of in the same boat and having some of the same thoughts. So I'd love to know what you're thinking. I'll keep you posted on how I'm feeling and if I get my period again, and I'll let you know about my hair and my acne and my back knee and my migraines. We will get through this together. Sending you all so much love from New York City, and I can't wait to hear from you. Bye.